Right. There you go.
I don't need that.
We're done. Should we take the next slide?
There we go.
Okay.
Perfect.
Right, morning everybody. I'd like to introduce our 3 spotlight members that are going to be sharing with us today. We've got Sumi first, Esther, Sarah. Take a seat, ladies. Thank you. Right, so this is the first time we've done this type of session here at the Signal BiZHUB. It's a very informal session. There are going to be some questions which they've had in advance, but I'm not necessarily going to stick to them completely, so I might throw a curveball, you never know. I'm hoping it's going to be quite an interactive session. We're going to bounce it around. I'm going to say if anybody's got anything pressing that they need to ask and to interrupt, please put your hand up, do so. There will be a session at the end that we can do sort of more formal Q&A, get into groups, discuss things that they've talked about. So we're here first just to listen for the first as an introduction. I'm going to ask everybody just to introduce themselves. So we're going to start with you, Sarah. Good morning.
Good morning.
And the first question is, I'd like you just to introduce yourself and what is your business?
Okay, my name is Sarah Bass. I am Director of Oraculum Recruitment Consultancy, and what I do fundamentally is help businesses to successfully recruit their staff and grow their businesses.
Okay.
Yeah. So I act as an outsourced recruitment consultancy.
Right.
After many couple of decades in agency, I wanted to bring a service that was more suitable for SMEs, to allow them to not only actually recruit their staff, but to actually start, develop and improve on a recruitment process, which means they can constantly bring in new talent to their businesses and grow their businesses.
Great. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Sumi.
From someone really structured to me. I've got my stuff here. My name is Sumi Olson. I've been with Signal since it started in this building in April, whenever that was now. And this struggle as who am I, what do I do, has been part of the whole challenge of being a member here. And I'd like to say, finally, I think I've nailed it. I have multiple business streams, and they are under the umbrella term of Olson Enterprises. And within those business streams, I'm a professional pet sitting service provider. I'm the co-founder of LWG, which is the Liphook Wellbeing Group, which encompasses various activities. We work with various businesses. We'll go into that later. I also set up the Essential Lavender Company. I'm a qualified insomniac practitioner, so I'm a practitioner. I am a insomniac, but I'm also a sleep practitioner. So I think the thing I've had, because it's been lovely to have that lovely, very succinct kind of overview of what you are and what you do and what you offer. I think the evolution for me since becoming a member here, one of the reasons I wanted to become a member was to get a synthesis of all these different streams that I do, how they coalesce and how I feel authentically attached to it. So I'm slightly different, I think my answers are going to be today, because actually for me, when I've the aim of my business, or Olson Enterprises, is to sustain an ikigai lifestyle. Now I think you might have heard some of you me mention ikigai, and it's very similar to the Venn diagram that Peter mentioned last week, whereas I have an extra circle in that. It's a Japanese term. It's reason for being. Why are you up in the morning? How do you serve your community? Why are you alive? And what it does, it combines what you're good at, what you love, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. Now, what you could be paid for is the work that I would be doing this year to make sure that I can join all that and align it together.
So just to stop you there, just to summarise, when we ask you, what is your business?
Yeah.
Just in summary, I know you've got different aspects of it,
Well, but I don't know about the audience. I mean, do you know exactly what Sumi does by what she's just said?
No, see, and that's
that's not criticism.
No, that's
that
what I'm
just
going to be working on this year, actually.
So as Sumi sitting here now, what do you do?
Everything.
Okay, to make money. Let me define my question.
Okay. To make money, currently my focus is on my pet sitting service.
Okay.
But I want to draw in all my well-being elements to make that a consolidated income stream.
Okay. So your main revenue stream is your pet sitting business currently.
That's what's bringing in the money.
Yeah.
But the LWG, which I was not paid for, was a diversion that I both have resented and actually appreciated, because this year it's meant that it's elevated me, really given me credibility in a field that I already had.
Yeah.
And with funding, we're going to get paid for it. So I think when I was looking and doing this for of view,
Yeah.
that it is going to be, it's still going to be multiple income streams, and I think that's when I'm doing masterclass.
But there's nothing wrong with that.
No,
There's nothing wrong
but
with
it's
having
trying to
multiple.
synthesise it, whereas if I can get help from, I think, people this year, that would be really good, because I need to be able to answer that question.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you, Sumi. Esther, you're in the spotlight. Go.
So, Esther, I'm a therapist, and what I do is help people, just set people free from their limiting beliefs. So I'm called a rapid transformational therapist, and the reason is that you don't have to come every week. You come like once for an issue, for one layer of the onion skin, and I put you into hypnosis. And we just let the subconscious mind fit. We just go to the root of the problem, dig it out, and then replace it with the truth. So it's a combination of hypnotherapy and cognitive behavioural therapy and neuro-linguistic programming. And it's very quick, very fast. And then you get a little audio at the end, and they can listen to it. So you're naturally in hypnosis twice a day when you first wake up and just before you go to sleep. It's a natural process. And not stage hypnotism, which is what some people ask me. Are you going to make it clap like a chicken? No! You're fully in control! It's all about you, it's fine.
Unless they need it.
If they choose to, they're in control, yeah.
That's a whole different story.
That's a different kind of therapy, yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Good. Well, thank you, ladies.
Just going to the audience now. Has anybody got any specific questions? Do you all understand what the three businesses are? Has anybody got any specific questions? Just asking what they do, or do you understand what they do just based on what they've just said? Yeah? Good. Good. Okay, so we've got over stage one. We've got my next question, which is always is quite a sort of a deep question. Is like, why did you choose the industry or the sector or the niche that you did? What brought you to it? So I can start with you, Sarah. What brought you to it, and why did you choose it?
Do you mean my business now?
Your business now.
My business now. I mentioned that, and it's funny when you said that it was quite succinct what I say. I understand your journey on that one, because what I just said there will change tomorrow. If somebody else did, I still, and it is that sort of when people ask you what you do, you can say, I'm a recruitment consultant. I hire, I help businesses hire staff, and I see people's faces. I think it's next in line to estate agents. So, having spent the early part of my business, we'll be 10 years old next year, working with the agency model, which is where I'd come from, and battling with that model, which I had been for quite a while, it evolved that I really, truly believed that small businesses, the agency model doesn't fit with them.
Right.
For a number of reasons. One of the main reasons is the fear of success of recruitment, and also the large costs. So it's sort of, and I moved into more, and the industry's moved more into retainer and internal recruitment. Businesses are recruiting for themselves to save on the cost of their hires, but more importantly, recruitment can be so positive for a business. If you've got to the level where you're thinking, I need some help, and you're actually making that move, evaluating and making that move is a massive step, but it's such a positive thing for you to do. If you're going to grow your business, you have to build a team.
So what got you into recruitment as a whole then? So, what...
Oh, what, in the beginning?
Yeah, why have you chosen recruitment?
Well, I wanted to be in the Navy, and I was told I wasn't allowed to go on ships.
Oh.
So it's that long ago, I'm probably giving away my age.
That's okay.
I didn't want to be a secretary, and I refused to take any of the Pitman's exams.
Okay.
I don't know why, I just did.
Yeah.
And I moved to London with a group of friends, and I met somebody at a party who was quite a bit older than me, but she was in recruitment. And as soon as she told me what it was about, I wanted to do that job. Because it was more limited in when I started in the profession, it really was. In any profession, and I wasn't a grad or anything. So I went to London, got introduced to a couple of agencies. I was only 18, and they went, no, you're far too young. I've never taken anyone as young as you. Okay. And then one person said, right, if you do 6 months telesales, I'll give you a trainee role. I've never done it before. I know who I'll put you with. And I literally went away and went to work for some insurance company, booking appointments on the phone for no money, commission only. I mean, it was so poor. And then literally to the day, 6 months to the day, I phoned her up and said, I've just done 6 months, I've got my reference.
So pure persistence.
Well, she said, I've got it in my diary that you would call today.
Okay.
I knew you would call today.
Brilliant.
And I was the youngest person she ever took on.
Wow, that's
So
really
yeah,
good.
so that was early doors, and I think if you're going to go into recruitment, or it's a fantastic, incredible industry, but you need resilience,
Yeah.
and it is hard. It's a tough. You're
Yeah,
right
yeah.
at the forefront,
Right.
but it's amazing. Yeah, it's a really
Brilliant.
amazing industry. I still get buzz.
Good.
Recruiting someone. So
What about you, Esther? What made you choose your niche and your sector?
So the reason I just retrained. I graduated in July last year, and what pushed me to do that is that I was just pissed off because for the last 20 odd years I'd worked with young people who had been excluded, who had been abused, and when I started, the system was great. There was lots of mental health, there was lots of sexual health, there was lots of family support, there were proper things in the community. And then I just watched it dwindle, resources just disappear, workers not have access to training, and just really delivering such a poor service. And I refused to be part of an organisation because I worked for Surrey County Council, and they couldn't, you can't support somebody, you can't help them, so I was questioning myself, why am I doing that job? So I thought, well, what could I do? So I know the issue they all have is mental health. That's just constantly been increasing for the last, since forever feels like. So I thought, okay, well, and then young people don't want to go every week. So I thought, what's the quickest kind of therapy I can give them? So that's why I did my rapid transformational therapy, because they can then come, they can commit once, and then when they buy into it, they learn that they are in control. Then it's like I'm giving them the power back, and then you could just watch them change like that.
Yeah.
It's
rewarding.
It's instant.
Do you find it very rewarding?
Yeah, because I want to really help them, and this is the best, deepest, longest lasting way I can help them.
Yeah. So have you always had that in you, that you want to help people? Is that something that's always been in you?
I think it's just like an anger. It's like a righteous anger that how dare people ignore the youth? How dare they like stop them from dreaming and limit them and make them feel like they're not valuable?
Yeah.
So I want to do the opposite.
I can hear your passion. So that's really good. What about you, Sumi?
I'm just
What
loving
do you
the righteous anger, actually.
Righteous
So
anger.
next February's session, you can build a whole marketing spin on that. When I said I do everything in all these multiple streams, it's not just because I'm just a nutter that likes to do lots and lots of things. There was actually, this is an evolution. Olson Enterprises is an evolution of what was called Project Cornwall. This year I turned 50 in September. And the idea was in 2015 that, as I don't know if some of you know, I've got a son with complex special needs, and a younger daughter who's effectively his elder sister. And what happens when you become a special needs parent is that your future becomes a bit limited. He's going to be a vulnerable adult. You just can't go off and assume they're going to bugger off to university and buy you a house when they're profits or anything like that. So we found that my husband and I, my background is sales, marketing, and business development. I started as a bookseller I read history at UCL and was at Dillon's Gown Street as a bookseller. I came out in the recession, so I got a job there, became the youngest and fastest recruited manager they had at the time, and did lots of experience. And what would happen is people would say, I basically then left that, set up my own publishing house, and did various different things, and then moved eventually into business development with the Royal Town Planning Institute when I'd left that. So I had a career path and a trajectory. I was getting higher up in senior positions, and then obviously with Freddie it just limits. And then what we decided after a holiday with friends in Cornwall was we'll move to Cornwall, have a small holding, and within that we would have multiple business streams. And we would pay that off by having a lavender farm, beekeeping. We would do respite holidays, so we would have eco-pod holiday, cabins and stuff like that, so offer respite to special needs families, do marketing retreats. I had lots of friends doing arts and crafts and stuff, having them down. With David and I having sales and marketing experience, we'd do retreats and stuff like that. So there's various income streams. We were going to do forest garden. I'm sort of passionately eco-environmentally sort of nutter.
Can I just ask you, did you have a long-term, did you have a time scale plan?
Yeah, we were supposed to move this year.
Okay.
It was supposed to be, I was going to have my 50th birthday in Cornwall.
Okay.
And one of the things about it was going to work with special needs and mental health communities, give them jobs, apprenticeships, lived works experience. Sort of really embed ourselves in the community, making a difference, giving some money, a couple of eco weddings, looking at sort of forestry type gardens with nuts trees and all sorts of things. So it was a big 52-page plan. Then Brexit happened. Some of you know I'm a passionate Remainer. Hit me hard because Cornwall obviously rejected Brexit, and it was also a model that was going to rely on EU subsidies a lot as well. So I drifted for 6 months thinking, what am I going to do now? Because actually what Project Cornwall represented for us was something tangible. It was a future. We had a goal. We had something that we could leave to the children. There was potentially, depending on how Freddie evolved, some kind of work for him as well. It gave us a goal, that future. We felt that we could combine our skills. And then that all went, so it hit me very badly. And then my friend said, well, why can't you do some of those elements here in Liphook? So Olson Enterprises, essentially, and all the businesses that I've set up between that time, since 2016 and now, is a stripping of Project Cornwall. So my animal rescue thing is my pet sitting. I love animals, I love caring for them, I offer a service. So that's morphed into that. And my Essential Lavender company is the evolution of what would have been the lavender business, and so on. So there is method to the madness. These are all parts of what I was doing before. And I think that's very important to me because basically, to my mind, and this is where I think working with you all will help, is that you know, in my mind, it's been very clear what I'm doing and the step changes and why I was doing these things, but it's very complex, and therefore trying to communicate that. And I've talked with Rob and had a session with him, you know, how do you bring something which is actually a lifestyle choice? And for me, the businesses are a mechanism, it's a vehicle for me to produce that lifestyle. It's not that I want to grow a big multi-billion pound industry.
Yeah, so you were brought to those sectors and that niche from a family perspective.
I think as a passion, it was, Cornwall to me was an accumulation of all the things I had found of interest in my life. I've always been into arts and crafts and herbalism and eco-growing and, you know, organic growing. I was one of the early members of what was the Henry Doubleday Association, which is now Grow Organic. You know, when I was at Dillon's at Gower Street, Planet Organic over at Gower Street had just started. So I was part of the hippie brigade in the early 90s, late 80s. So, you know, what's happening now, you know, I had found and discovered for myself almost 30 years ago, really. And it was just combining what was my life skills, because I've always had a career which was a portfolio career where I've been building. I do partnership building, all that sort of stuff. So it was bringing together all my skill set. So it was Ikigai, because it was what I could do, what I could get paid for, it's what I love and what the world needed. Right. So it was a bit of an identity kind of crisis, and I think that's what the journey has been difficult, because I'm like saying, right, I'm doing this business, so if I was just thinking pet business and this is what I have to do, I haven't got a problem with that. I've been doing that, I've been setting up businesses and companies and departments for most of my career. Right. That's not the bit that I find difficult. That's, if anything, it's like shut up and wait and park that idea, because I know how to do that.
Running multiple businesses is difficult anyway, because it's almost not diluted, but it's your message is often diluted, because you're and that
multiple avatars.
Exactly, and that it's complicated.
It's a multiple layered business.
Yeah.
If you want to offer more than one thing for the value to a customer, and there's a lot to give, and it's a big topic, and you're pulling everything together in one.
I've always
really
been
tough.
holistic, so whenever a company I've ever worked for, it's been very important to me that I've understood the entirety of the process, so that if I was saying to a customer in a bookshop, for example, I needed to know how my timelines ran for warehousing, so that I couldn't then say to a customer, oh yes, if you order at 12 o'clock we can give it to you next day, if I knew that our deadline in the warehouse was a particular time. So I needed to know, and also part of my higher skill set became of dealing with changing mindsets, where people had, especially the Royal Town Planning Institute, coming from a commercial background, and the Institute is an educative charity, to be able to come and say, look, you might look at me as filthy lucre and telling you how to sell, but if you want to buy a new latest computer, if you want this, or if you want a new chair, that's not going to come from membership revenue, it's going to be coming from the other stuff I'm bringing in.
There is does anybody else in the audience run multiple businesses and multiple, you know, different streams, different businesses, or you're all just your own?
You're sensible.
No, you do. Yeah. Good. Do you find the same sort of challenges, having sort of multiple streams? You find it diluted sometimes, I don't know? Yeah?
Absolutely.
It's quite difficult to concentrate on it.
How do you decide how much time to spend on each?
Allocation of time,
Well, free of me, really, to do this properly.
Well, knowing that's the weakness, my intention this year, my goals have been to set up the infrastructure. So Peters was just absolutely ticking what I'd already planned to do and started to do from last autumn. If I've got my processes as automated as possible, if I've got the structure and the infrastructure set up, as I said, actually setting up a business follows certain set routines. There's cookie cutter type, whatever it's called. And if I know that I've got all that there and I'm outsourcing if I need to and I've got everything set up, then I can follow through with an idea because I want to bring in passive income. I've not mentioned passive income. This has all been me doing a one-to-one, whereas my model when I started consultancy 12 years ago was a one-to-many. It was passive income. I want to be able to, when you ask us our typical day, I want to do my typical day when I'm doing my outward stuff, but knowing that passive is coming.
Yeah, we're going to get onto that in a minute, but I think it's very evident to see that everybody has got a real passion about your sector that you've chosen, your belief in what you do. We come on to the sort of nitty-gritty now, and okay, so you've got a passion, you know what you want to do, I've got this idea, now I have to run a business, and how does that work? So I'm going to put a question to each of you. What piece of advice do you wish that somebody had given you before you started your business? Esther, I'm going to start with you. So one piece of advice that when you started this up, what do you wish somebody had told you?
Okay, so for me personally, I was one of those people that ran away from pain, whether it's emotional, physical, whatever it was. I would rather cover it up with anything and everything and just running the opposite direction. Whether it was like thinking about money, because that's a big one for me, or like I've been single for the last 10 years and working through my heart issues. So I wish somebody had told me that actually those painful things are the key to growing and progressing, and they're my learning points rather than like run in the opposite direction. Just embrace it and don't, otherwise I'm suffering and I'm suffering and I'm suffering and it's never bloody ending. So just face it, just be brave and face it. And I feel I would have been a lot.
Do you think you would have learned lessons quicker if you'd embraced it?
I wouldn't have suffered as long. I wouldn't be as lonely for as long as I've been lonely and stuff. So yeah.
Okay, brilliant. What about you, Sarah? One piece of advice.
Don't waste time.
Don't waste time. Okay.
Make a plan.
Yeah.
And stick to it.
Okay.
And you have to have that utter belief in what you believe you're doing, but don't waste time.
Yeah.
Stick to the plan. Give your business the right attention.
Give your time to your business to make a plan.
Don't get distracted.
Yeah.
And know your figures and stick to your plan and have your targets and give it everything you've got, because that's the biggest reward is when you meet at least some of those.
We often don't do that as business owners, do we?
We
often don't. We just keep rumbling along and we don't make these plans and we don't lay it all out and draw it out. I love A3. A3 pad is the key to everything in my life. Have an A3 pad, you write your things down, you get it all laid out, because when you've got it all written down in front of you, it just makes so much more sense.
Do you remember the big desk planners?
Oh yes, with the blotter paper.
Because I never lost
we're really showing our age.
information with one of those. It literally for a month used to get filled with numbers, and in the end I'd just make it, just turn it over, make sure everything, but smart. Measure everything, look at it, replan.
So going back, if you'd known that, do you think you would have progressed quicker, and in a more
I think
more measured?
Yeah. And I think the thing is when you're working for a big business, when you come from corporate, you do that on behalf of someone else. But you don't believe in yourself enough. You fear actually looking at it, and as you rightly said, replicating that and just making sure that little steps. When you go back to that, it is about your numbers. It's the same cookie. You have to know those and you have to move forward. But mainly,
do we get lost in that sometimes as business owners? Do you get lost in the fact that you're not measuring what you're doing, and is everybody else feeling that you don't measure as you go along, and you have to constantly measure in business, because you've got to sit back and say, what have I achieved this day, this week, this month, this quarter? I think
the big thing is that you're working in it rather than on it.
Exactly. You're not looking at it objectively almost.
You're too busy working in it.
That is, and it's very common. I mean, everybody's nodding, so we're not alone in that.
And the thing is that if you do, sorry to interrupt, but the thing is that you're working in your business, not on it, and you beat yourself up about everything. You are responsible. But if you actually record the little steps that you're making, it could just, like you said, just one more. When you started recording, I need one more of those. I've got half. I've got one. When you look back a little, you can pat yourself on the back and go, oh, I'm there. I'm nearly there, or I am there, or next you know, you've got an extra week now, you could take on another cleaner one.
Or did you
That's the way I do it.
I would do 5 weeks.
So yes, absolutely. I think it's really important,
Brilliant.
and I have fallen down over that. It's like, you know,
Good.
yeah.
What about you, Sumi?
Can I
What?
just say something? I was just going to say those two things are really aligned. So what Esther said about being brave and courageous, and what Sarah said about planning everything and making sure you're looking boldly at your numbers, because it's really easy to make a plan and then just ignore the fact that you haven't got anywhere near achieving it, or lie to yourself, deceive yourself, and go. But getting it out every day and looking at it, saying, no, I failed. I didn't make it, but I've got to do something different. That takes courage every day, and that's the thing, isn't it? You've got to be brave.
Believing in yourself and
doing it.
not being fearful about it. You know, just believing in.
Don't hide.
Don't hide.
You can run, but you can't hide.
Don't run.
What about you, Sumi? One piece of advice do you wish somebody you'd been given?
I was going to do something very similar to you, but I'm going to do actually something which is, if you don't fill your life, your calendar, your timeline with your goals and your projects, then you'll be sure that somebody else is going to fill your time with their goals. So, you know, don't progress somebody else's goals and lives, progress your own goals and priorities. I think so. It's setting the boundaries.
Yeah.
If you, as you say, and we've been talking about what January's been about,
Yeah.
is if you know exactly what it is that you want to do and you've set yourself the timelines and you've broken down the plan, then it's up to you then to fill your time fulfilling that plan and fulfilling those micro steps, because the moment you stop doing that, somebody's going to fill your time to progress somebody else's,
Exactly.
you know, their own.
Yeah.
We do talk about that in the hub as well, and we certainly mention it in the Jumpstart Januaries and other talks that we've done about when you go in the morning and you start opening your emails, you're already giving your whole day's agenda to somebody else. That's what we, you know, so you go in and you're saying, oh, I've got to reply. Instead of going in and planning and saying, right, this morning I need to do A, B, and C, and then I'm going to look at my emails and deal with the other things that have come in. It's all about planning and not giving over your time and not surrendering your own time for somebody else's agenda. So it's all about planning in that
affirmation I use every day is, in the limited time and resources I have available to me, what's 3 most important things I need to do to progress my goals. And that's different to what I need to do for the day. It's different to my domestic commitments, it's different to my general work commitments to progress on individual businesses.
Yeah.
But for my goals, what 3 things am I going to do towards that? And it doesn't have to be a big thing. It could be a small thing. So if you're running a marathon next year, then it could simply be, you know, get up and stretch and make sure you're doing your stretching and do for a walk. So it's not a big thing, but it's 3 things in that day that I can look at myself at the end of the day and say, yeah, I've done these step changes. That's going to take me to that bigger picture goal.
I take that one level further as well. If you write them down and tick them off.
Oh yeah, I do that too.
So gratifying.
Yeah.
So I've done that today. And score yourself, you know.
That's right,
I
that's
do
what
that.
I do
Score
that.
myself daily to see how I've done. It doesn't matter if you fail, but you've just got to keep pushing yourself to do things. Small, big, whatever.
Yeah.
Keep pushing it and write it down and tick it off, because there's nothing better than ticking
But
something
you're
off.
always going to have a to-do list. As
Yeah.
you know, so I think living with that constant to-do list,
Definitely.
you know, around your own life, it is having that constant to-do list is just what gets you out of bed, really. Otherwise you have nothing to
Definitely.
do.
So we're going to just flip it now and say, so what would you give, what piece of advice would you give to anybody potentially who's just starting up, or in general, knowing what you know now, running your businesses for some considerable years, what would you impart? Esther, I'll start with you. What would you say?
So for me, so everybody, so it doesn't matter what business you have, what you're doing, there's always going to be a struggle. And for me, the key is remembering why are you doing that? What's motivating you? What is the bigger, it's not just about you, you're doing it for a bigger reason. So every time you face a struggle, you face a challenge, you face some obstruction or whatever, that I think for me, the why are you doing it, will help you get a bigger perspective and help you push through and go, actually, you know what, I'm like the bit about being brave, you know, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm scared or I don't have the skills, but actually the bigger why is going to go, actually I want to help all these people, or I want to make a difference, or I want to grow this, that and the other for somebody else. So then actually that will help me overcome the obstacle, because it takes me out of the picture. It's much bigger than me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So remembering your core reason as to
Yeah.
why you're starting, back to basics almost sometimes.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Sumi? What would you impart with people to?
I think what's something I've discovered from somebody 25 odd years ago. He was a stockbroker or financial somebody or another, and he used to work for 3 months and then spend the rest of the time skiing or doing whatever and work 3 months. He could because he was big picture, and it was always a model that I had wanted to emulate with my businesses. So really I've consolidated that. I'm working for a life-work balance, so at whatever time of the year, so this is a good time of the year, you look at your year's schedule in the big sort of picture, and you map out the things that are non-negotiables. So whether it's a non-negotiable, like you want to go to yoga or a fitness class or whatever it is for your health, that's a non-negotiable, because actually a healthy person is a productive person, you make good decisions, you can actually go through and get the energy to do the stuff that needs to be done. So certain things like whether it is going to yoga or Pilates or whatever it is, if there are big holidays that you've got planned, big birthdays you've got planned. So basically look at your schedule for that year and say what it is that you want to do, because you live not to work, you work so that you can live. You're building an income stream so you can have the lifestyle that you want. And once you've done that, then you look at the rest of the day and how many days you've got left to work. So like for a lot of mothers, school holidays are just like, forget it, don't even try. So, block out school holiday, whatever it is in your life that you can't do. Then of a working day, be realistic, because I think realism and how long a job takes is really important. So you might have a 6-hour working day, but realistically, you may only have maybe 4 or 5 workable hours within that time. The other bits might be travel.
We are going to get onto typical working days in a minute.
So once you've actually evaluated how much time you've got, and then how much what you want to do, there's going to be a discrepancy, well, not discrepancy, but you need to then work out how you're going to pay for that lifestyle. And that kind of clarity gives you an understanding that maybe actually some of your offerings can be changed or your emphases can be changed. So instead of pursuing low-hanging fruit at £10, why not go for fewer but higher value, higher ticket items and push for those? So you can still achieve that lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I think it's looking around and saying why, as you're saying, the why. And for me, the why is actually I'm existing, I'm here to do the other things. Work is a delivery mechanism for that.
I think also from what I've taken from that is planning.
It is planning.
Looking at it and planning. And that comes up time and time again. I know it's the theme of our month, but it's a very important theme, is planning. Looking at what you want to achieve and planning it out.
Yeah. Because everybody works around. They kind of say, oh, I've got to do the work, and then if I've done that work, I'll go on holiday. We're self-employed. We've set up our own businesses. If we cannot create a lifestyle because we have the control of our businesses, then we may as well go off and work for somebody else.
Yeah. Thank you, Sumi. What about you, Sarah? What would you say is a piece of advice that you could give back?
Well, for somebody starting?
Yeah.
For somebody starting in business, I just would, if I was starting again, or if I was telling somebody who was starting in business, sort of one thing, I'd just have utter belief in yourself. And there is, whatever your idea is.
It's easy to say that, though. How do you build that if you haven't?
Well, that's the thing, because you always question yourself. Yeah. That's the thing.
I mean, doing things like this makes you, I think puts you out there.
Nerve-wracking, yeah. And, but you will always have self-doubt. This is the thing. But if you've made that step, you're being really, really brave. If you're coming out to work for yourself, it's going to be, you know it's going to be challenging.
Yeah.
So I would say have utter self-belief, really. That's the biggest hurdle you can have. You're going to work hard, so make sure you focus. And my main advice would be is that whatever your dream or you want to do, whether it's holistic and so on, you're doing a good thing, and there is nothing wrong with making money.
No.
You might have some very good intentions with the lifestyle of giving back and things like that. And most big business people, larger business or people who've been successful, often they're in business, they're quite not the nicest of people in terms of, they're quite direct and they're focused.
Cut and dry.
But in their own way, without saying anything, they will give back, and they always tend to.
Yeah.
It's not about the wealth, it's about the absolute drive to have something that you really want to build and achieve and that goal. So that would be my biggest one. Do not be ashamed of going out and charging what you need to charge to build your business, know your numbers, and get on and make some money and make your business successful. There's nothing wrong with it.
Good, yeah. Thank you very much, Liz. Has anybody in the audience got any nuggets that they want to share with us? What they would suggest when you're starting out in business? Anybody got anything?
Just make sure you enjoy it. I think.
Yeah.
If you've got an idea and you don't think it's going to be for you, and you don't think if you make money but don't want to enjoy it, don't do it. I think it's in for the long haul. If you don't enjoy it, what's the point?
And we get one chance, right? Just the one chance. Well, some believe there's not.
Yeah.
What about you, Russ?
I think it's all about planning and processing, and 3 or 4 years ago I thought, oh, we don't need to do that, we can make this happen, I'm busy, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And actually think, oh, I wish I had made some more processes and made a better plan, not just wing it, because it doesn't work if you wing it. It might work, I think 1 in 100 might work, but I don't think
Yeah.
it works.
No.
Yeah.
It's building those strong foundations, isn't it? Building the foundations and build on it. Something very interesting that we had in the talk last week, which I sort of really resonated with me, was when Peter said to draw an organisational chart of your business, how you see your business looking in the future. And even if your name is in all the blocks and you do everything, you've got that then plan. You've got that foundation of what you want it to look like, which is something I've never really thought of before of actually doing, but it really does make sense to do that.
And just following on from that, surround yourself with excellent people.
Yes.
And I say speak to Sarah, because we haven't mentioned that Sarah is responsible for Claire and Gareth being here.
Thank goodness, wonderful people.
Just means you have Sarah to blame.
Well, something has to happen, doesn't it?
I think also, when you're really starting your business, also try and find a mentor. Somebody that you can trust, somebody that you can talk in confidence to. They don't actually have to be, the biggest entrepreneur in the whole world.
Yeah.
It could even be, a friend or somebody in business. Doesn't even have to be in the same business that you're in, but just having that ability to talk to somebody, because there are hard times, and I think everybody has to understand that when you're running a business, there are some hard times. It doesn't always go as well as you want it to, so I think to have that ability of talking to people.
Which brings beautifully into the hub, to be fair, because this is the community that you've created here. We are also developing the buddy system, which is what is we're taking and we're learning. We are learning as we're going along what people need, and a buddy system is a really good idea, and that you can join together and meet with your buddies. So you're in the right place. Okay, right, so just going on, we're going to talk about the present now, and a quick brief. Tell me what a typical day is like in your business, Sarah. Typical day in your business.
Anything.
Snapshot.
Mondays, anything can happen. That's just recruitment. Anything can happen on Monday. Typical day is I run to a diary.
Right.
So it will be checking in with clients, checking in with candidates, making sure on availability, visiting candidates and clients. Lots and lots of talking to clients about potential recruitment. Lots and lots of talking to people you've never spoken to before. Quite a lot of sales and introduction. Writing some blogs. Just basically busy all day.
Okay. Productive, busy all day, every day?
Well, no, because interruptions. The typical day will be blocks. So for me, it's sort of, I tend to work quite a bit before 8.
Right.
So that's, I have to take a break at 8. So I can do an hour before 8.
Okay.
And that's my little bit to make sure my plan. Main bit is 10 till 12 is like calls. But often I'm on the phone to clients at, just after 8 or around or early, because they've got a busy day. So recruitment's often done outside candidates. So my block's sort of early morning, then it's 10 till 12. I usually have a long lunch break because there's stuff to do, all sorts of stuff, and then I work 4 till 7. Is my opening time.
So you do have definite blocks in your day that you block out. Okay,
yes, and it doesn't always run to plan.
No.
But if I
thing is, I don't think any of us can
say
say that it always completely runs to plan, because you're reliant on your customers and people around you when things happen. So
my day mainly the biggest candidate client update time is usually towards the end of the day, at the beginning of the day.
Okay.
And the rest of the time is mine to do what
flexible,
I want.
right?
Yeah.
What about you, Sumi?
Yeah.
Typical day. Here we go, ladies. Put your seatbelts on. Deep breath.
I've really enjoyed this question because it's been really part of that whole planning aspect that I've got. But actually, my typical day has been I get up, I do a morning routine. So that involves getting up, doing affirmations. The first thing I do is have hot water. To do that, I do my planner, which is this 6-minute diary. It's saved my life. It really has. It's basically it starts, let me go to a bit where I haven't written. So the first bit is 3 things I'm grateful for. You can obviously do more if you want to. This is how I'm going to make today great. So it's a bit of looking at what I'm going to do that day without it, without being like 5 o'clock I'm going to whatever, but just a guideline. A positive affirmation is a nice quote. And at the end of the day, I will do an evening routine where it's my good deed for that day, how I can improve, so things that I could do better, and great things that's happened. So what this is actually, if any of you do positive psychology and gratitude and all that sort of stuff, and productivity and stoicism and all that stuff that comes with good habit building, this is a very useful mechanism to do that. You don't need this book, but I really rate it for the 70 odd pages of explanation and guidance. So that's what I do to start the day with that, and then I go off and do pet sitting rounds. So I've already done a few cats this morning before getting here, so I'll do cat sitting, and then depending on the day and how many clients I've got, so in the summer that could go on to quite a while. If I've got a peak time, less so now, then if it's a Friday, or it used to be Wednesday, I'd be here. I might well have had children appointments, hospital visits to Basingstoke or whatever with Freddie, children activities, and then the evening afternoon rounds and children's activities, and then if it's a Monday night, parish council meetings. So I think the issue has been for me is that in that time, where is the workable sit-down time on my business? And that's been the failing that I've identified, because I'm running around, I like my plate spinning, and it's been very productive and I can do things. So I'm actually wearing my multiple hats quite easily. I might be doing an LWG event in that as well, if it's a Saturday, for example. So I think the business weakness in that sort of lovely structure where I'm doing things and going out and actually doing the one-to-one activities is where do I sit down and then do the correspondence and the paperwork and all the rest of it. So that's why that is the actual, we were talking about the structure. I'm very much aware it doesn't matter whether I have one business or multiple businesses. If I don't have that structured time where I can say that's it. So I've been doing time blocking and batch tasking, which have been really working for me.
Good. Again, it's back to planning.
It is back to planning.
Yeah. What about you, Esther? How's your typical day look?
So because I've just started, my typical days are just, so it's, because I'm still studying, because I want the advanced level, so there's always a bit of studying, which I enjoy doing, and I can get lost in, and I could just stay there all day, so I have to really try and bring myself out of it, and then go, okay, you know what, I need to earn some money, what am I going to do about it? So I've done a podcast, and I try and plan talks, and I'm just trying to get into some of the mental health hospitals, and so it's very flexible.
Very flexible. So you don't do block time at all? Do you do any blocking of time or anything?
No, but I tend to just my brain is best in the morning for studying, so I study in the morning. And
Good.
then I do
It's very good that actually to go with what your body and your personality does, and you know when you're good. I'm much better in the evenings than I am first thing. Activity-wise, mornings I'm better. Brain time evenings. I don't know, and you've got to work with that. So I think it's really key to do that.
Can I just ask Esther, do you go into schools?
Not at the moment.
But you're planning to?
I'm planning to, yes.
You have a plan, as in, do you know how to go about
So because one of my issues is money, the way I thought to do it isn't actually the best way. So I thought about going in as a extra assistant teacher, but actually going in as a therapist to talk to parents is the better way for my business. So that's what I'm working on now.
And what about talking to the pupils at secondary schools? Because they all have that week in May, don't they? Where they're all scrabbling around, teachers running around looking for adults to come in and look after the kids in one way or another. What's it called? Progress week?
Progress week.
Yes. So I just think
that's on my list of
because all the head teachers are like, yes, please come and talk to the year 8s for absolutely.
Have them all. We'll see
What I was going to do afterwards was that we've taken on, the Lippert Wellbeing Group has taken on Community First's community networking events in our area, because they're changing the evolution of the community networking structure. So I've being a parish councillor and being LWG, they've asked me to run the local LWG-led hub, which will work with CCGs and stuff like that. So I was going to ask you anyway, but I wanted you to come to those networking meetings, because you can then align with people who can give you both funding and support and get you straight into where you need to be.
Thank you. Good. I wish I lived closer, I should move.
That's the next goal.
You meet here. You can always meet here. I say, in the mornings, it's funny you say that, I'm on work, and I have to quite a lot split my family from my work, mainly because they're the ones that encroach on me at the drop of a hat anyway. But in the morning, I must admit, about over a year ago now, but I every morning the first thing I do is show gratitude, because I learnt it from somewhere, and if I open my eyes and I've just shown a bit of gratitude that I've woken up in my own bed.
Remember where you are.
Remember where I am. I'm awake.
And who they are.
It's fantastic, and we got a dog as well last Christmas and so on, and that changed everything as well, because it is
dogs rule.
I am regularly now out walking up the common. And I'm able to go up the road with the lights and waiting for a little bit of light to come up, because I need to walk the dog at like 6 a.m. in the morning to get it in. And we did I did 3 million steps last year. My husband did 3 million steps, and the poor dog did 7 million steps. But it just is, that's my time to get my head together. And I have Audible. It's just really worked for me this year. That's just been
It's really good to give yourself time.
Routine.
And as you say, as Sumi quite rightly pointed out, we can give ourselves time because we've chosen to run our own businesses. So you can give yourself time. You're not tied to somebody else's. So make it work for you.
I think the drawback for my typical day is that anything can happen domestically, especially with the challenges I have with the children. And like today, Greta's off, so now David is at home at the moment because he's semi-retired. But it wouldn't have been too long ago before he retired where I would have had to be the person. And I think that's what's happened in terms of what you said, encroaching. I don't know if you find it, but I think, without being gender kind of, I'm not making any accusations, but I think it's just the way most family structures have been. When I have, and that has been me. And in the past, trying to set up businesses in the past, it caused me, my doctor actually asked me, would you like a stroke or a heart attack, Sumi, because you're heading that way? Because I was looking after the children all day, and then putting them to bed, and then starting work on my consultancy business from 9 till 2 in the morning, and then going to bed, and they were getting up at 6. So sometimes I was having like 2 hours sleep. This was going on for ages, and I burnt out completely. And the doctor basically said this, and I stopped work. So this was about 2012. I had about 18 months of doing this. And that's partly why I'm really, you might think it's like, oh, she's a bit kind of new agey about this whole business, but I have been through that process of being burnt out, and the impact of that is still residing in me. So it's really important for me to, but the habit, unfortunate within my family, is the expectation is I will drop everything and look after the children, especially with my husband. So in a way, I've actually carved out deliberately businesses that take me away from the house, so he's dumped with the children.
Method in the madness.
But if I'm at home and I'm working, and as some of you have seen me, I've got my stand and my wireless keyboard, and if I'm sitting here working on my work, they're seeing it as I'm playing on the phone. And I don't know, we might cover this in your other subjects, but that's been a weakness of my business, being taken seriously within my own home.
I think often, and I don't know whether other members in the audience know, when you're at home, people don't perceive you as working. They think they can just drop in and have a quick cup of tea and actually, I'm working. People don't take it seriously sometimes when you're at home. I'm sure other people have found this. So it's a common thing when you work from home. People don't perceive it as, they're at home, they can quickly go and do that. Well, actually, I'm working.
Throughout the hub, wasn't it? Throughout the hub with the hub meetings, always. It is amazing as a regular hub staff how many people would stay on and work. And stay on and have meetings after.
Which is why we've introduced the Friday day thing, just to give that time. Sheila, you had a question.
Yes, going back partly to what Sumi and I have very similar situations, only mine is a disabled husband. And I can't believe it, his stroke was 14 years ago.
Goodness me,
but I follow somebody called Mel Robbins, who does, she calls it your 5-minute morning. And I did get her journal because I thought, 5 minutes, fine, because you try and fit in an hour, because I've read a book about the miracle morning, it takes an hour. I thought, I haven't got an hour, even if I did get an hour. And she actually says in the book, when you stop in work, put the time, and I've never filled it in. I had never had, and the reason being is because what I do is networking, it's conversations with people. I see myself as working all the time, and also David's only carer, so they just
merge
into one. And the good thing about it, there is always a good side. The good thing is that David started our business, and therefore he's still involved. Because we're out and about. But it's absolutely true. I should say, I'm stopping now, and I still struggle to do that. I still struggle to put in that time.
Yeah.
You never know. Plus, something else I do is what I call thinking on my feet.
Right.
And that phone call, which isn't the one I was expecting, is actually somebody who wants to meet me because they want some products. So I've got to be doing that and trying to actually then say, no, I've finished now. I can't do it.
It's very difficult. Does anybody else have that issue, not being able to stop?
I've actually got a very annoying thing on my phone that turns my phone off at 5 o'clock. But it's obviously, it's just a reminder that I'm not now supposed to be working.
I know where you live, Emma.
But so my phone now requires me, I want to open any app or anything online on my phone after 5 o'clock, I have to click like 4 different things.
Okay.
So it just keeps reminding me that actually I'm not supposed to be doing this email stuff right now, but I still do it.
I think those things are really useful. I do. I really do think those are useful.
I think also life changes. As you go on through your business, things happen over that time that would change the course of what you're doing, and make you make decisions that you didn't necessarily have to make 5 years ago or something. So as life changes, your business has got to change and adapt.
And your personal life changes. I mean, you have small children. Mine are grown up now, so I'm like, oh, I'm happy to work because happy days. So your life changes, which ties us very neatly onto the next question. Goodness me, this thinking is working incredibly well. What are some of your life goals, ladies? And I think I've put this question in because business is business and very important and everything, but you've got to have life goals as well because they tie in quite well together. I think it's really important. So Esther, have you got what are your life goals?
I'd like to find somebody and fall in love with them and have a home.
You can do that.
That's it.
Okay. I'm good matchmaking, you know. I've got some serious
That's why I like to recruit somebody for you.
I matchmake.
You may sing and dance as well. You never know.
Well, that is actually a very similar skill set.
Oh gosh, I've got relationships and marriages, 20+ year relationships under my belt.
Well, there you go.
There you go. That was going to happen today.
Your action for today is have a meeting.
It just happens. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Happy to.
Brilliant. Okay, what about you, Sumi? Life goals?
My life goals is I'm doing Project 365, which I've borrowed this book from Emma from the library. In fact, I've given her now, I love it so much. I've got so emotionally bonded to it that I bought her a replacement copy and keeping this one. Because, I had a bit of a, I wouldn't say breakdown, but I reached absolutely a tipping point last November. I woke up and I had over 100 messages on my WhatsApp, email, Facebook personal messenger, Facebook business messenger, text messages, and like we were saying earlier on, it was 100 people or whatever, 100 messages, and people wanted things from me, and I thought, I cannot do this anymore. And it just drew a line. I did a 2-day kind of mini retreat where luckily I wasn't having any cat clients or anything like that, so I sat down and I started to really map down my life goals. So I've been doing a lot of work about these big questions, what do I want, where am I going, blah, 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 blah. And then I picked this up, which I borrowed from here, and I had looked and dribbled and dabbled in, but actually I started from day 1. I'm now on, I think, day 64, and it's a life coach, and it's just small, it's that compound interest effect, small sorts of things, but helping you look at mindset, self-limiting beliefs, just openness, all these kind of things, and it's given me, it's part of my structure. So part of my morning is, and I've got, just by sheer chance at home, I had one of my diaries which I'd not done much with, so that kind of matched. And then I do this, but the goal, the 365-day goal, is a combination of all these things. I love projects. I do little projects. I've got Get Fit for 50, so get rid of the abdominal flab, the menopausal crap sort of stuff going on. Get that pelvic floor sorted, all that sort of stuff. So I've got projects. So these are all. The goal is to fulfill 365, and by doing that, what I will get by having committed and fulfilled 365 is I will be fitter. I will have business infrastructure set up. Infrastructure is absolutely key. I will have financial stability that will allow me to to go and do the Ikigai life and do the things I want to do. It will make me happier, healthier, all these sorts of things. So actually within Project 365, there are multiple benefits, and like you were saying as to the why, absolutely, there is a purpose behind everything that I'm doing. And when I finish that in, I think the 21st of November, I will have got a business structure all aligned. I will be fitter. I may not have lost the flab, but at least I'd be slightly, slightly pre-children. Well, you see, my goal, another project I have is from slummy mummy to a bit more yummier mummy.
Slummy mummy.
A bit more yummy mummy. So, even life goals like maybe getting a haircut once in a while and doing a bit more grooming than I do. It's sort of that sort of thing. Getting me some more clothes. Tiny things, which is all part of that cumulative effect.
Yeah.
So that I know I've got a very clear picture by this time. I will have done. And I think one of the things I've learned from a lot of this kind of goal preparation is that you keep your aspirations high. In the sense your goals have some intrinsic discomfort within them. Because if it's an easy low goal, then what is the strive? But if you're going for something higher, you're not necessarily going to get all that way, but even if you're half, 3/4 or almost at that way, the growth that you've done for yourself is incredibly important.
Very important. And it's good to write it down and see
which
praise yourself for any achievement.
Yeah.
I think that's what we don't do often enough. When you're in a big corp or whatever and you do well, they throw money at you, they put your name up on the board, they do all of that. When you're on your own, you don't do it. You just keep going. You don't celebrate the wins. Celebrate every
absolutely.
win. I think it's really
been
important.
lovely. On day 60, whoa, I've done so. And
Exactly.
also, because it's habit, this is another thing that you might have come across if I got it with me. It's Atomic Habits. No, I haven't. It's in my bag. Atomic Habits. I mean, I'm doing a lot of stoicism and stuff, or returning back to what I've known. I think this is a consolidation.
Consolidate it down.
I do an awful lot. I've done a lot of self-awareness and stuff work over the years, and actually Project 365 is actually bringing together all I've done. Rather than reinventing the wheel, I'm revisiting an awful lot. I want to be more of the person I was before I had children, before my father died. All these kind of things that I had, the person, because I've got 50.
Bring it all together.
Bring it together. And what's really encouraging, like you're saying about the phrase, just one sentence to finish that bit off, is to say actually the reward of actually acknowledging that I am some of those things already.
You are.
And by doing the kind of review of that year and myself, it's quite encouraging. We were talking about self-limiting beliefs and the doubts, and when we talk next month about value, if we're asking money for somebody, of us, who are we? And if you don't feel authentically confident in yourself. So actually a lot of this work is saying that I am good enough.
Yeah.
I have done enough. I know enough. And I have done a lot, so it's all part of that review.
Brilliant. Sarah?
You said yours. You had one. You said one.
See, this is how I mix it up, Sarah. It's your turn. Life goals.
Life goals. Well, for forever, I was actually moved when my mum remarried. I moved from London. I was born in London. Bizarrely enough, to Petersfield, and was there from sort of toddler through to up to A-levels. Then went back to London. So I'm from Petersfield, but it amazes me how life comes around. I've been all over the world. I've done all sorts of things, and then bizarrely gravity's pulled me back. But in my head, because of that background in the rural, I've always had in my head that my forever home. Not sounding cliche, because this has been forever. I could quite happily have had a farm, but I would like to have a forever home that is like the next stage where my children can come back to, where hopefully one day their children, that we can be, and be self-sufficient. I do have a metal tin with everything in that I can bury in the garden. I don't know whether it was the wall my granddad or my grandma put in there. Okay. If I needed to get up and go to Scotland tomorrow, I've got spare petrol. I'm gone. I am good to go. I don't know why.
I packed a toiletry bag.
I know that from finding out too much about me now. But I would love to have a little homestead like that. I would love to. I'm quite prepared to live in a caravan. I've got one more property development in me.
Okay.
So I love that. So that stems from, business-wise, I think a lot of what people say is true. I think for women in particular, is that we often start our businesses a little bit later, and we really come into our own a little bit later because of the parental side and the having children. I had children later. So I do feel a little bit behind in terms of what you can achieve, but what I'd love to achieve is to have a solid business that runs on its own, or that I have sold and is moved on, or that somebody manages, or it's franchised, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But still be within business an expert enough, have achieved enough to be giving businesses advice. I always want to give back. I would love to do that. I'd love to be known in that context for helping businesses grow and the next business owners wherever. And recruiters, you know, and bring. I want, and above anything, I think what's changed is that I'd love to be disruptive. I don't want to be traditional. There was something in there that was like, oh, it's not the, you know, the digital, the modern. I want to be a disruptor. I want to change things up a bit. I want it to move things up. So
it's
that's
one way to get known.
Well, that's exactly
right.
I don't. I've been, you know, you can be nice, you can be pleasant, but the reality is that you've got to get to grips with this recruitment bit, businesses, because they're just not. And I really think that business owners need a good shake up, and so that's what I want to do. And apart from that,
matchmaking.
And
matchmaking.
And my last thing, which has always been my dream, is I have a picture of a little stone building in Greece.
Okay.
It's right on the beach.
Yeah.
It's literally 2 rooms, an outside shower. It's just everywhere you go to that you want to go on holiday. I just want a little tiny holiday hut on the beach somewhere.
Brilliant.
If it's a bigger villa, fine. I just love travel. I love the sea. I just love the way people live their lives there. It is everything I want to do.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. I mean, you know, it's quite a big thing to share our goals. It's quite, you know, letting people in. But I think it's really important that we talk about our life goals, because they do run in unison with your business. And if your business does this, you can achieve that. And once you start doing that and actually having and thinking about those life goals, what you ultimately want, your business will grow accordingly if you plan it and moderate it and do what you're supposed to do. So, okay, we've got a couple more minutes, so we're going to fire through just a couple of things. I think we always sometimes forget to look what's happening in our industry, in the particular industry. So, do you look at the industry and what's going on in your industry and what exciting things are going on in your industry? And if you do you plan accordingly? Do you plan anything, like if something's going on in your industry, do you put that into your business plan so you can be on that wave that's going on? Esther, do you do anything like that?
Because I'm right at the beginning, so that's all I'm kind of like doing, is trying to figure out how to navigate my way through the minefield of different potential possibilities. So like for example, when it comes to, I can do anything and everything, so who am I going to focus on? So for me, it's for young people, because that's my experience, but also that's the biggest growing place in anxiety and stress and uncertainty and everything. And God, if somebody doesn't help them, in 50 years, not even that, 20 years time, what the hell's going to happen? So I just...
So you plan accordingly, so that is definitely the wave that is going on in your particular industry at the moment. So
there's different waves, that's the wave I'm riding.
Okay.
That's good. That makes most sense to me, that it's easiest for me to go.
Can I just write that phrase down, because I think that's something I need to know. There are lots of waves, but that's the one you're riding.
Yeah.
I think for
That's
the
really
first time it's interesting that young people, I mean, there's been whole discussions about the age that young people can vote at. You know, and I have found, having teenagers, you know, growing up teenagers into adulthood now, a little sideline, but that they, for the first time, I feel, are genuinely starting to have a voice on the world stage and their own opinion.
Yeah.
It's almost that with mental health and anxieties and so on, if that's the pattern that they have going into younger life and it's not dealt with, and they don't have any way to understand it and look at it and be supportive with it and realise it's real, those are the adults that are still dealing with it.
Yeah, but also they're most comfortable with talking about it, not our age group.
No.
They are very open with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see. So we're missing that they are in fact chatting and talking, and they are
and supporting, and the most groups
each
for mental
other.
health support is some of it's not practical, but that is the biggest.
Interesting. Yeah.
Sumi, what about you? Can you pick one of your businesses to talk about?
Well, no, I was going to. It was going to be the well-being aspect,
Okay.
because not only will it tie with my Liphook Wellbeing Group work, but actually where I think about passive income streams and my other existing businesses, it's where I want to go. It's like you're saying, I think the LWG work has been of use to me because it's really brought together all my skills. As a manager, I was always interested in pastoral care and support and growth mindset and stuff. And with my daughter, growth mindset's a big thing. I think one of the things that really resonates with me is the thing for it's courage, grit and passion, which makes a successful business. You've got to have the courage, as we talked about, walking through the fear, taking the daily persistence, resilience through, and then having the passion to drive you. So taking that on board, I think with the LWG work, it's just the amount of community. There's a lot of stuff going on. You've talked about resources being shrinking, national state resources, so there's a lot of community rising work available. It's the social inclusion, it's the mental health, it's trying to make mental health actually acceptable, that if you're going to go off and get a physio done for your back or whatever, that going to a counsellor is perfectly acceptable to just tweak and get your mental health sorted.
So, but just looking at what's going on outside of your business, are you following trends?
Yeah, we're following that,
Are you
because
looking at?
that's really when we see what we want to do with the Liphook Wellbeing activities, it's aligning that, because what we do, I think, uniquely is that we bring creatives, so people who make things as well. We have practitioners and counsellors and debt counsellors and all sorts, and we have the holistic practitioners. So what we're doing is encompassing that, and I think that by having those three sectors, whatever's happening in that field, we bring in. Good. So it's a big subject, but we've talked about it so many times.
We have. What about you, Sarah?
A couple of things. Something happened yesterday. The first thing is mindset-wise and just trends. Is shifting. I'm actually really proud to be a recruiter. People are at the most stressful when they're either going through personal troubles, moving house, or trying to change jobs. I'm really proud of our sector. I was talking, AI is a massive, automation and AI is massive in recruitment industry. But I also think that is balanced by a lot by the old-fashioned task of actually picking up the phone to people. You can't get away. You can have all the AI you want. You can pre-screen it, but it might be on the screen or whatever, but you're still going to have person talking to person. It's about people. I was talking yesterday to one of the major job boards who we have an account with and spend a lot of money with, yesterday about job boards, which I take for granted. I've used them most of my career and I take them for granted, but had a really interesting conversation about just how much is invested by massive companies into the job boards for volume traffic and how they go about creating traffic to their job board websites. It's people say, oh, it doesn't work, it's how you use it, but I took it a bit for granted. And also where I sit, I don't spend £1 million, but where a smaller business recruiter sits, and the value we can bring, which was fantastic. But it's again, I've moved the business from me knowing everything and you just get a candidate in front of you going, oh, all that work, to showing businesses how they can work that system and how they can best spend the value. So yes, the trends now, even more so, I'm writing more about passing on the information and hiding what I do. And having the magic result.
Because traditionally the recruiters used to keep it all close to their chest and like they got the commission from it and just keep it all, but now the sharing, because people do it differently now.
And we're looking at things slightly different. When I see adverts, when I go on a job board and I look, say I'm looking secretary board and just to see what's going on, the amount of businesses that are giving agencies the work, and they'll give multiple agencies, and I've got a whole thing about it, but everyone says, our client is. It's completely confidential. Nobody wants to share that information. They're all hiding it from each other until you get the interview. So often candidates don't even know what the business is until you've secured and they've had the CV and all of that going on. Well, that's not promoting a business, is it? And that's not, and it just feels that to me felt a bit, it just ended up being, it was just silly.
So that's, so by that
So-
trend, that
So I talk about the business
Yeah.
from the
Okay.
beginning of a candidate and provide them with the website and the LinkedIn for the people they would be working
because
with.
often with recruitment we don't think of it as a two-way thing.
No.
And it should completely be I choose you, you choose me. It's a
well,
complete
it's
two-way.
a three-way.
Yeah, exactly.
The last thing I'm going to say, and it all seemed to, we're all very passionate and serious, but the thing that you can lose sight on is having some fun. And thank God for the hub as well, because I come in and I am more productive here than I ever could be.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful and I feel it's fantastic, but there's some fun. You know,
Like
let's
fun.
have some fun.
3
you know.
o'clock beer time.
Yeah, the videos in the kitchen, and I can't. Where's the next one, Russell? Come on!
Yeah.
I want that reveal. I missed my Christmas wasn't the same. So
I've been back twice.
He's at the back.
And she was moving in. Sally was moving into the kitchen on the first occasion, and on the second occasion she had all of her friends round for a cup of coffee, and I'm like, I'm not doing it today.
no, but do go back and say, Sally, can I come for a cup of tea? And just do a quick one because it was. But having fun, having
Brilliant.
a bit of fun with your colleagues and maybe with your clients and whatever
Yeah,
is really important.
Good.
That's-
Right, we've got one final question, and it's a very short, sharp answer. So stay focused, ladies. And it's good that it's a sharp one because it's an interesting question. What's your ultimate goal for your business? Short, sharp, sweet. Go, Sumi.
Solvent.
Nice. Ultimate goal. Brilliant. That's good. Esther.
Set up an alternative CAMS, because CAMS doesn't work.
Okay. Good.
With all different kinds of therapy.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Legacy.
Nice. Good. Thank you very much, ladies.